Broken, Chapter 6, Back to the Beginning. I stared at the river that was my all-time favorite place to be with a book in my hand. The air was humid, but it had just rained, causing the fog that surrounded me. The smell of pine and fresh rain mixed with moss coming from the riverside was intoxicating. It had been a while since I had been here, since Mom was having me help her with houses that came up for sale and making me fix them for showing. On top of that, I was buried in schoolwork and worked part-time at a local grocery store to make up some extra cash. I wanted to work at the local mechanic shop, but being as I just turned 16 not too long ago, they decided I was too young and needed to be at least 18. I sat against a tree and listened to the river while attempting to sketch a nearby fallen tree. I wasn't exactly the greatest artist, if I could even call myself an artist at all. It was more like abstract art, if I was being completely honest. A small crack from a branch causes me to look upward to see an average height boy with brown eyes, brown hair, and average muscular build looking down at me. He wore a black t-shirt, ripped jeans, and sneakers. As soon as he knew I caught him lurking around, he made himself completely in view. "Sorry, I didn't know anyone came out here. From what I heard from the locals, no one really comes out here," he said flatly. He was right. No one really did come out here, which is why I made it my personal, calm place. When things were getting me down, this is where I went to get away from it all. No, normally people keep to the walking paths by the mountains and stay away from the streams, I replied. "And then there's you," he retorted. I was a bit taken back by his attitude. He didn't even know me, and I felt like he was judging me. Could someone be that rude to someone they just met? Or was that just his personality? "Yeah, then there is me." I threw back, sick and tired of listening to him already. "Sorry, I just don't get along with people easily. My name is Curtis," he replied. I honestly didn't care if his name was Channing freaking Tatum. He was acting rude and ruining my calm space, and I wasn't having it. I picked up my things and put them in my small bag before getting up to leave. He intercepted me immediately. "Are you leaving?" he asked, confused. Why did he care? "Yes." He looked down at his shoes and then back up at me. "Is it because of me?" I didn't know how to put it so easily, so I just put it bluntly. "Yes." "I'm sorry to disturb you. You don't have to leave. I can go if you want," he replied. I couldn't tell if he was being sincere or if he had an ulterior motive. "It's fine. The view is great, and sitting against this tree isn't bad either. It's a good place to get your mind off everything," I explained, looking around at all the scenery. "Is that why you were here? To get away from it all?" he asked, almost intrigued. I nodded my head slowly. "Yeah, kind of." I didn't really want to engage in the conversation anymore and left it. I walked back to my house. As soon as I walked in, my mother told me there was a boy who moved a few streets over. It was a small town in Telluride, so everyone knew one another. If someone new moved to town, you would know. My mother said a boy named Curtis moved in with his aunt, and he was almost 18. She didn't say too much other than his birth mother was sick, and he moved from Highland Park, Illinois. I wanted to tell her I had just met the ass, but I thought it would be best to leave it. A few weeks went by before I saw the boy again. We met at the same place at the river. He didn't hover or even try to hide the fact that he was there this time. It was like he was more comfortable. "Hi," he said quietly as he came and sat down right beside me. I was a bit taken aback since the last time we spoke he was indifferent to me. Now it seemed like he was more interested in me. "Hi," I replied back in the same hushed tone as he did. We stared at the river for a while before he made conversation again. "I turned 18 the other day." I wished I was 18. It was the age that the men down at the local mechanic shop said I needed to be to work as an apprentice. "Cool. Feel any older?" I responded. He chuckled. "Not really. How old are you again?" I didn't think I even told him the last time we had a conversation. 16. I will be 17 in a few months." He pondered for a bit on the statement, and then we made conversation about the town we were in. He wanted information on the town's folks and the hot spots to hang out. I told him everything I knew about Telluride and almost everyone in the town. After a few hours of speaking about Telluride, we parted ways and I headed home. I would see Curtis a couple times a week from then on. We seemed to have some things in common, but whenever I asked him to go to parties, hang out with friends from my high school, he always declined. He stated he doesn't like other people because they don't get him. Every time I asked about his family, he would divert into another conversation, avoiding it completely. It was almost mysterious of him, and for some reason at that point in time, I found that attractive. It was only after my 18th birthday did Curtis and I start to date. It was slow at first with a few dates on our own, never in public. I had asked him to go to the local movie theater and watch one of the newest movies that had come out, but he never showed. I ended up watching the movie by myself. I had already paid for the movie tickets, and since I didn't want to waste them, I went by myself instead. I expressed how upset I was that he ditched me, but he made it out to be my fault that I had instinctively bought the tickets first before asking him. I never bought anything in advance for us after that. I walked into the mechanic shop on my first day of apprenticeship with a big smile on my face, and Nicholas, the mechanic shop's owner, explaining what needed to be done. It was a huge accomplishment to be a part of the team, even if I wasn't truly a part of the team. I loved every second of it. Although Curtis and I fought more than normal now. Every single time I had gotten off work from the apprenticeship, he had gone off on me. He always said I made more time for the mechanic shop than for him. I needed these hours for the college I was applying to outside of Telluride, and he knew how important it was that I had enough hours to get by. Once my hours were complete within the next few weeks, I could fully apply to the school and try my luck at getting in. I had gotten perfect grades in both woodshop class and auto mechanics class in high school, so the apprenticeship was not only a perfect match for my college application, it was a breeze. I understand that your hours are complete here, Caroline, but while you are waiting to hear back from the school, would you like to work here part-time? Nicholas asked as I was heading home on my last day of apprenticeship. I was full of joy. I literally squealed, "Of course, Nick. Any hours I could get here, I would be glad. I would really help pay for some of my college tuition." He smiled and gave me the schedule for the next upcoming weeks, along with when I would be working penciled in. As soon as I got to my street, I saw Curtis standing just a few feet away from my house. I ran up to him and gave him a kiss and shared the good news. Only he wasn't happy. He explained that he thought when my hours were done for my application, I would be done completely and could spend the rest of my time with him. A few weeks passed and it seemed like we fought almost every day. I almost feel like I couldn't catch a break with him. You know, Caroline, just because you keep checking the mailbox doesn't mean the response from the college is going to be in there, my mother said, almost chuckling at my anticipation. I know, but I want to know where it is. They were all sent out a week or so ago, and I should have gotten mine, I whined. You are going to get in, sweetheart. I don't know why you are so worried about everything, my dad added. Well, I mean, it's obvious why she's nervous, Bert. She's afraid she isn't good enough to get into the program. My father looked at me questioningly. Why would you ever think that? I know you can beat any one of those applicants, he stated proudly. I sighed. Yes, Dad, but most of those applicants are boys, he scoffed. So? Whoever said women can't do what men can do? I don't know. Most men, since the dawn of time, I said sarcastically. You have nothing to worry about, Lena. You are going to get in, he assured me again before heading off to work. I sighed, becoming less hopeful as the days passed. Days turned into weeks before I decided to call the school. A receptionist answered the phone. Hello, this is the main office. How can I help you? Hi, my name is Carolyn Castor. I am just wondering why I haven't received a response from the college regarding acceptance. I heard her typing on the computer for a moment. Castor, as in Kaster, she replied. Yes, ma'am. We sat for a few moments in silence until she stopped. Yes, Mrs. Castor, you had gotten an acceptance letter, with a full scholarship, I might add. I squealed and jumped for joy. Oh, thank you, I yelled into the phone. Mrs. Castor, I think you misunderstand. She stopped. My cheering for myself stopped as her voice became grave. What's wrong? Her keyboard clicked a few times. Well, Mrs. Castor, you did not reply to your acceptance letter. You have a deadline, you see, so unfortunately, you missed the deadline. No response means the school thinks you are not interested anymore, so we unfortunately terminated your acceptance along with your scholarship, she explained. I had almost dropped the phone when my mother grabbed it from me. Hello, this is Nancy Castor. My daughter is a bit shocked now to answer. The thing is, we never received any acceptance letters, so... She paused. Well, there must be a mistake because... She paused again. Very well. Thank you very much. I slumped against the wall, trying to comprehend what just happened. What did she say? My mother put her hand on my shoulder. She stated that according to all of their records, the acceptance letter was sent out to our address. I don't know who would take such a thing because your father and I know what an acceptance letter looks like, and we were watching out for it too. She did say you could always try next year. My mother added, trying to be helpful. I burst into tears and couldn't stop myself from shaking. That school had been my dream for over a year, and I had gotten a full scholarship only to lose the chance. How could someone do this to me? My mind was brought back to Curtis being so upset at the fact I was attempting to go to college. All the time spent at the mechanic shop would turn into fights between us. Would he do something like this? No, of course he wouldn't. He was proud of me in his own way. That's crazy. Curtis spent weeks avoiding my calls, and every time I went to his aunt's house, he wouldn't be there. I gave up on trying to see him and thought he would see me when he wanted to. It was good to have some space because after being told that my dream school had given me the chance to have a full scholarship and learn from the best teachers was ripped away was absolutely devastating. After a few more weeks of avoidance, I thought it would be best to confront Curtis on how he was avoiding me. Why would he avoid me like this in my time of need? I texted him multiple times about what happened and that as my boyfriend, he should talk to me about it. The only response I had gotten back was, "I'm sorry, that sucks." His aunt opened the door. She was slim, brown hair, brown eyes, and was wearing pajamas. She looked sick and was looking around behind me to see if there was anyone else. "Can I help you?" she asked. Her voice was rough. It was how I pictured a person who smoked for 100 years would sound if they were still living. I tried to give a small smile. "Hello, My name is Caroline. I'm dating your nephew Curtis." She seemed shocked at the remark. "Oh, he's not here, but he should be back soon." "Do you think that I could come in and wait for him? I have been trying to get a hold of him for some time now, but he has been dodging my calls." She nodded and let me in. "His room is the last room on the right." I thanked her and headed down the bare hall. The whole house was dark and barely had any light from lamps. How could she see in this place? Newspaper pilings were scattered throughout different parts of the house, along with a few cats rummaging around. I wouldn't say the house smelled horrible, but if you think about an old house with hints of mold in its walls, you'd get the idea. The thought crossed my mind that she might be a hoarder, but I dare not ask her. The hallway had bare walls, not a picture in sight. Usually people keep some type of memorabilia that they had a family or were social, but not this woman. I opened the door that was painted white, yet the paint was chipping apart to find a dark room. I flipped on the light, which revealed a double bed with navy blue bedding and a dark red lava lamp sitting on the nightstand. Posters from various metal bands hung on the white walls. What seemed to be dirty clothes scattered the floor. So this is where Curtis sleeps. He never invited me into his aunt's house, and judging from the look on her face, she didn't know her nephew was seeing anyone. Sitting on the bed, it seemed hard, until I pulled out a sketchbook from underneath the mattress. It seemed almost like mine, except the sketches. The pages filled with harsh lines. With so much pressure, the page had split. It was hard to tell exactly what was sketched because of the way the lines were. The way it was sketched made me feel like Curtis was angry when he drew it. So much hate put onto one piece of paper. I slid the book back underneath the mattress and flew backwards onto the bed, kicking over his bedside garbage can in the process. I sighed at my stupidity and started to pick up the spilled trash before my fingers passed by a letter that had been burned. As I looked closer, I realized my name. Caroline Castor. "We are proud to announce you have been accepted to," the words cut off by burnt paper, but the school seal was still there. This was my acceptance letter. Curtis had taken my acceptance letter from our mailbox and burned it. He was single-handedly the reason I had missed out on the opportunity for accepting my scholarship. Rage began to fill me as I stared at my broken future. The door to the bedroom burst open, and Curtis was standing in front of me. He seemed to want to say something until he realized what was in my hand. Staring into his face, the only thing in my mind was, "How could you?"